All right. Next up, let's do Tennessee real quick. Tennessee, this should be a fun one. Tennessee. Oh. There we go. And then, so weird going to SEC and then seeing Oklahoma in there. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. Season preview for Tennessee headed into 2024. Let's see what the Vols got cooking up this year under head coach Josh Heupel. Obviously, you see the veer and shoot right here. One of my favorite offenses in college football. Wide splits, deep passes. It's all timing throws. It's really fun to watch, and if you really understand what they're trying to do, it's hard. It's a hard offense to run, and it's a hard offense to defend. And they do it very well, especially with Hendon Hooker a couple years ago. But now, they got a real good gunslinger back there. Nico is here. This is time. It's the time. This is what Tennessee fans have been waiting for. He was part of that 2023 recruiting class. Remember, he was a big get at quarterback for them. And he's got the keys. He's got the keys to the Lambeau this year. And he's got a lot of weapons to throw to. Squirrel White, Brew McCoy, Chris Brazell, Dante Thornton Jr. And where's Mike Matthews? I'd say these three starters, Dante Thornton Jr., if healthy, and then Mikey Matthews. Those five, not many receiving corps are going to have a better five. Now, I know that's not probably the top five right now, but I'm just saying when we get the season's end, I think Mikey Matthews could be the fifth receiver. And Dante Thornton could become the number 1 or 2. Was he 6'5"? 6'5", and he might be the fastest player. One of the fastest players in this room. I mean, White's pretty fast, but he's not 6'5". He's 5'10". So, they got a lot of weapons out there. A lot of 4 wide receiver sets out of them. You'll be seeing an offensive line, Lance Hurd, big-time player at LSU. He's a 5-star recruit. Tennessee went and got him in the portal, solidify the protection for Nico. Johnson Campbell, big-time right tackle as well. This is an experienced line outside of Hurd, where Hurd's a very gifted player. Redshirt senior transfer. Ethan Davis, one of the better tight ends already in the SEC. I know he's not right now, but that's my prediction by the end of the season. He's a very high recruit, and you can't teach 6'5", 250 with wheels, right? He's a big-time tight end. Dylan Sampson. Now, I will say running back is probably the worst room on this offense. Now, is that a bad thing? No. This is a team that's going to throw it all over the field, run it when they should. And if you can't stop the run, they'll run it until you stop it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a bad running back room. But it can always turn around. I mean, Dylan Sampson's a pretty good player. And I keep forgetting they don't have the stats on there. That's unfortunate. Actually, we can go look that up real quick. See what he had last year. Because he's only going to get more carries this year. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, see, last year he only had 600 yards. Only on 100 carries, though. 5.7 and 6.8 yards per carry. So when he gets the ball, he knows what to do with it. And he does it very well. Flip it over to the defense. James Pierce Jr., obviously, we all know who this is. projected to go top 3 in the NFL draft. Probably the best edge rusher in the SEC as of right now. Keenan Peely, one of the better linebackers on the team. Arian Carter, a name to know. A lot of chatter about him throughout the spring and even headed into fall camp. Just as a sophomore, too. He's right there with best linebackers on this roster. Him and Peely. Now, German McCoy. He's from Oregon State. Okay, now as an Oregon Duck fan, I'm very familiar with this guy. He's a very good pickup for them. Middle Tennessee, I do not know Jacoby Thomas if he was a highly... We'll go ahead and look at the transfer portal after we look at this. Boo Carter, freshman. A lot of buzz about him. A lot of buzz about him in the spring, headed into fall, fighting for playing time. Sometimes you can't keep good athletes off the field. He's an example of that. John Slaughter, a very good player. Andre Turrentine, very good player as well. The secondary has a lot of upside. Now, aside from probably these 3 guys right here, just assuming since he's a junior transfer, you'd assume he has some experience. I mean, I don't think you come from Middle Tennessee with no experience, right? I don't think Tennessee would take you if you haven't proved yourself at a lower level. Outside of those 3, there's not a lot of experience from the projected starters. Hey, Boo Carter, he could definitely step in there. Oh, and Jordan Ross. Go back, and Caleb Herring. Highly ranked high school players that could easily step in. Only problem is, this has him at the same position as James Pierce. Now, I'm sure they could figure something out to get them in, maybe with him or rotate him in. Jordan Ross is a phenomenal player. I want to say he finished, what, top 10 in the class? Let's see. Yeah, number 9 nationally, number 1 edge rusher. Like I said about Boo Carter, sometimes you can't keep good athletes off the field. Great athletes. 6'4.5", 233. Let's see what he is now. 6'5", 245. That's a specimen. That's a true freshman, guys. From Alabama. He's not on Alabama. He's on Tennessee. Josh Heupel's putting work in the recruiting trail. And we're going to see that when we go and look at their 2025 class here in a little bit. So, yeah, overall, depth chart, very solid on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Nico, this team's going to go as far as he can take them. Chattanooga, to start off the year, that's a win. We all know that. NC State, this is a big test for Nico. You're going to play a very good defense, a well-coached defense. They might not have the NFL guys that you're going to see in the SEC. But, hey, they're always good and they're always well-coached. So that's not going to be an easy game. Kent State, that should be an easy game. That should be a blowout. At Oklahoma, now this is going to be a tough one. This is on the road, and I'd choose, like I said with the Oklahoma team preview, I think this is Oklahoma's game to lose right now. Obviously, we're going to learn a lot about these teams in the games prior, so we're just going to have to wait and see. Now they get a bye before Arkansas. That should be a game they win. If it's on the road, they should win that game still. Florida, Tennessee-Florida rival game. You're home for this. If DJ Legway is the starter as a true freshman, I think that says a lot about how Florida's season started. If Graham Mertz was the starter and got benched, and if that's the case, Tennessee, they should win that game. Now you're home against Alabama. We've seen this movie just a couple years ago. High expectations for both teams. A big game. Potentially both undefeated. I mean, Tennessee, they got some work to do to get there, obviously, with NC State, Oklahoma, Florida. But they could both be undefeated in this game. Tennessee's home. If they beat Oklahoma, if they beat NC State, they could beat Alabama, especially at home. Now you get a bye. Kentucky. I'm not that high on Kentucky this year. I think Tennessee will be favored, and they should win that game. Mississippi State, they should win that game. At Georgia, this is Tennessee's worst nightmare. Tennessee fans, this is probably the worst game for you on the schedule. Nico, first-year starter at Georgia. Kirby Smart, he's just like Nick Saban. When he sees a first-year starter at quarterback, it usually doesn't go well for them, especially on the road. And if this is a night game, like the 7:30 or 8 o'clock game on ABC at Georgia, not a lot of good things going for Tennessee. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, You shouldn't expect to beat Georgia with a first-year starter. And then you get UTEP and Vanderbilt, 2 easy wins. So what's a realistic record for this team? Well, first I'd say the expectation should be playoff. Now I'm really high on Nico, personally. I followed him for his last 2 years in high school. And if everything clicks and that receiving core that we looked at, sky's the limit for these guys. Now, obviously, Alabama, Georgia are going to be your toughest games. So I'd say 10-2 is realistic. Especially if you beat Oklahoma and NC State. I mean, 11-1 should be the expectation. Like, if you beat Oklahoma, you beat NC State, you beat Florida, you can split Georgia and Alabama. 'Cause I think Florida could be a harder game than Kentucky, personally. So yeah, I think 10-2 is pretty realistic for them, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That should get you in the playoff, especially coming out of the SEC. Now this is what Tennessee fans should be very excited about. This 2025 class is ranked 6th right now, guys. Tennessee is 6th with 21 commits. And just take a look at some of these guys. They got George McIntyre, who I think 247 Sports is higher on. No, he's about the same. They're actually lower on him. But yeah, they just had a rankings update as well. But nonetheless, 8th best quarterback, Douglas Utu, 2nd best offensive tackle, Lagonze Hayward from Georgia in the class, top 100 safety, a D lineman, Deson Brain, just flipped from Oregon. They picked him up. Travis Smith Jr., a receiver. They got a lot of guys in just the last couple days. Darian Smith, defensive lineman from Baltimore. He's rising. He's from a big-time school, St. Francis Academy. That's a big-time program in Maryland. Justin Baker, once again, going into Georgia, getting guys that Kirby didn't get. There you go. Another Georgia guy. Yeah, the class is coming together. Marion Dye, big-time get. I'm pretty sure he had a long offer list. 31 offers. And Michigan and Ohio State were in that top 3. That says all you need to know about the type of player he is. They're not done either. We can look at their prospects. They are not done. David Sanders Jr. could very well be a Vol. Josh Petty, they got some work to do for him. They got some work to do. Hey, but they could pull it off. Now, I don't know if they'd go all out for Josh Petty because you already have Utu, the number 2 offensive tackle. But David Sanders, one of the best players in high school football, and they're trending for him right now. Nebraska got a visit. That's an old crystal ball for him. But Nebraska just got a visit. But Tennessee still has the buzz, and I think that says a lot about the work that they put in. And they're kind of out of it for these guys up here. We already talked about Petty. Ty Jackson. That's going to be a tough one. Just looking at the schools, he's from Florida. You got Florida State and Florida in there. Gaston, he's Georgia, Oregon, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Cameron Sparks, he's from Tennessee. 5th best receiver. All right, now this is intriguing. All right, Brian McClendon is no longer at Georgia. And he was recruiting him. Will Muschamp is in a lesser role. I think that says a lot. He hasn't had any visits, though, recently. So, but he's definitely got to keep an eye on. I'm not down here. Onus Conan Banny. You got a crystal ball for him. So that'd be nice to add. Then a running back. It looks like he's going to head to Ole Miss. Out of all these guys, another receiver. They're battling Kentucky for him. So yeah, this is going to be a top 10 class. And I'd expect them to stay in the top 10 until signing day and after signing day and finish in the top 10. Top 5 is definitely a possibility as well. This is very impressive for Josh Heupel. Last year they were 13th with 9 transfers as well. There's Lance Hurd. That's what I was talking about, 5-star. Chris Brazell, he was a 4-star transfer. He's part of Tulane, a good Tulane team. McCoy from Oregon State, 4-star, very good player. Holden Stays, tight end. 4-star tight end. So they got him and Ethan Davis. Ethan Davis is just a really good player. I'm going to look at their... He was in that 2023 class with Nico. This is the guy Georgia really wanted. They beat Georgia out for him. 37 offers. Number 7 tight end, 6'5". Big time athlete. So yeah. That's going to do it for Tennessee's team preview. I said 10-2 is realistic expectation. And obviously, Nico's going to take them as far as they can go. And I think that's going to be exciting to watch.